Bird! Get him! Yeah! Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. All right, everybody, the battery's low. I'm getting packed up. I'm ready to go to Bozeman. Cannot wait. So I'm getting this intro done on a Wednesday before I get on a plane on Thursday. And this is a different kind of an intro. So please don't hit skip because I have a request. Now, you're all familiar with Arxis Boots. That is Jack Butler's company. He imports Arxis boots from Sweden. He's also the guy that brought us Gumleaf boots to this country before Gumleaf closed their plant in Europe, and Jack found a even better rubber boot company, more styles, more. Okay, that's the commercial for them. Anyway, Jack wrote me an email. He said, see if any of your Minnesota listeners that are going to be driving to Kansas City Pheasant Fest, he found a beer the last time he was there visiting his daughter who lives in Minneapolis. This is what he calls the beer. Now, it looks like 3 different brands of beer, but it's Jack Pine Duck Pond Nut Brown Ale. If any of you could get a case of that and bring it to Pheasant Fest, Jack will absolutely pay you for it. And if you're in the market for boots, he will give you 20% off a pair of boots for doing that favor, for throwing that case of beer in your vehicle, bringing it to Pheasant Fest. We'll figure out how to get it on your truck and get it out of your car and get it into his. We'll figure that all out. That's just logistics. We just need someone in Minnesota. Reach out to me at ronb@thehuntingdogpodcast.com or call me at 231-206-2282. Any way you can. So let me know if anybody can help out Jack, and he'll help you out if you're interested in a pair of boots. If not, he will pay you for the case of beer anyway. So it would be a big help. Onyx is the title sponsor of this show. It's been the title sponsor of this show for years, and it's the title sponsor of everything we do in the outdoors, period. What else can you say about Onyx? I don't do commercial reads. It's Onyx. It's synonymous with adventure, with hunting, with fishing, with everything we do. Just like Gunner Kennels is synonymous with crash-tested, engineered, built from kennels to food crates to bumpers to food bowls. Anything that Gunner makes is going to last longer than your next 3 dogs. Now that's unless the dog eats the bumper. I guess that is a possibility. And Gunner Kennels will be at Pheasant Fest this year. So how about that? W Supply will not be there, but W Supply will be there for you when you need your dog supplies, especially when you're getting your next collar, transmitter, whatever you need. The Garmin lineup at DU Supply, that's where you go to buy your collar. You get the best service from Jason and Buddy and their crew. And I wouldn't steer you wrong. If something happened, they will next day, even if you screwed it up, they will take care of you. And they'll figure it out later. They know service is most important when it comes to dog training. Canine Athlete, they're going to be at Pheasant Fest also. They're going to be not too far away from us. And I'll tell you what, you could use the promo code 25 Canine Athlete for 25% off your first order. Okay, you could do that. Or you could go there and spend some time over at the Canine Athlete booth. Sounds like I'm from Chicago. Well, I am from Chicago. The booth. Where's their booth at? It's over on aisle 12. Anyway, the guys are going to be there from Canine Athlete with all kinds of samples, from Wilderness Athlete to samples for your dogs. Go have a conversation with them, and you'll be a convert. And they'll have discounts there, too. So if you want to wait till you see them at Pheasant Fest, I understand. Mossberg will be at Pheasant Fest as well. Matt and the crew will be there showing you the whole lineup of Mossberg shotguns, and they have more models of shotguns than Onyx has layers on their mapping system. And that's a true story. Boss Shot Shells will not be there, but I will be there, and I will have some information, probably some Boss stickers, some Boss pamphlets, might even have some Boss ammo giveaways. I'm going to talk to Brandon Saricki and see what he can do to, what would you call it, liven up our booth a little bit with some big boss stuff. And Watermark Brewery, they won't be there because these convention centers have contracts with their own concession stands. But if I had it my way, Watermark Brewery would be the brewery that sells the beer at Pheasant Fest because, well, they sponsored this podcast by sponsoring my liver. Purina Pro Plan, of course, they'll be there in the bird dog stage. It's the biggest section of Pheasant Fest. You're going to have training segments, question and answers with the Smith family, with dog trainers that are of the highest caliber. So you can't, when you go to Pheasant Fest, nobody misses the Purina dog stage. Nobody misses that. Walton's, I looked up on the exhibition map. I did not see Walton's. I thought Walton's was going to be there because they're in the general area. Doesn't look like they're going to be there. So what I would say is get their catalog and use the promo code HTP10 on any Walton's products. Marshware is going to be there. Now, last year they were with me, and Kate and Braden were there. They wanted to kind of feel it out, so they were in our little village, our little hunting dog podcast area, and they are going to have a nice double cap end booth. They're going to have you're going to see a whole lot of their lineup. Last year they just brought a little rack with a few things. You're going to see a lot of Marshware there. So look for Marshware when you go to Pheasant Fest. There's another reason for going to Pheasant Fest. I already talked about Arxis because Jack's looking for a case of beer transportation. I don't think that's illegal. Is it? Is that like interstate? I don't know. I think that's fine, picking up a case of beer for somebody. All right, let's not worry about that. My four-wheel camper will be on the floor. Now, if you're looking to buy one, I'm not going to be able to fill out paperwork and sell you one. I'm not a dealer. But I will have brochures with me, and I'll have my four-wheel camper on the floor. And, in fact, if you're walking around with dogs, and I did this several times in the last few years, if you're walking around with dogs and you're like, oh, boy, I went to the dog parade, and, boy, I wish I had a place to put my dog while I walk the floor, you come over to our booth. We'll have some Gunner kennels even in our spot, even though Gunner will have their own booth. And I'll have my two-door custom-built dog box in the four-wheel camper. All you got to do is bring your dog, put him in the kennel, take a little walk, come back, get your dog. I mean, what else could you ask for? That's why I'm bringing the four-wheel camper, because I told people you could put your dog in my camper. You could even take a nap, I guess, if you were really tired of walking on the floor. Anyway, this episode I got to do with Bob St. Pierre from Pheasants Forever. Bob and I go way back. I've been on his podcast. He's been on my podcast, and we were both at the Michigan State Convention for Pheasants Forever. And Bob was speaking in the morning, and I was speaking in the afternoon. And we got together the night before dinner, the night before dinner. Bob came up to the room, and we did a great podcast. We catch up on season. We catch up on Pheasant Fest. We catch up on what's new. Always entertaining. The guy was meant to be on a microphone, and I hope you enjoy this episode. That's it. That's all. That wasn't that bad. What do we got? 7 minutes, 42 seconds? Come on. You know I've done worse than that.
You know what? We should just lead off with you laughing because your laugh is distinctive.
Yeah, I know. I get that a lot, that I just have the giggles. They say that I get that pretty frequently from K-Fan listeners.
Do you?
Yeah. 6 a.m., Bob's giggling.
If you're not in a good mood, listen to Bob. He'll put you in one.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
I am in a undisclosed location in Lansing, Michigan with Bob St. Pierre from Pheasants Forever.
And Quail Forever.
And Quail Forever. I should know that. I'm a Quail.
Sorry,
I'm a Quail Life member.
Thank you.
And I'm probably going to have to get the dog member and
we'll keep asking.
You know how I got that Quail Lifetime membership?
No.
The fella in Minnesota that does all that work in Southwest Minnesota.
Scott
Rawl was at a table up on a top. I think we're in Minneapolis or one of the Pheasant Fest.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of late night. We're having some more beer. And then I swear he had a professional sales girl working for him. Because she put her arm around me and said, did I need anything to drink? And I said, yeah. She goes, are you a Life member? I'm like, huh? No. She goes, are you going to? And she's rubbing my back. She goes, are you going to be a Life member? I think so.
Yeah, the protector of the prairie, Scott. He was recognized. That was the name of the headline from Field and Stream when they used to do Heroes of Conservation.
Oh, really?
Scott Rawl was a finalist one year.
Well, that man had a lot of energy.
He's a hell of a great guy.
You know. So I got
for a lab guy. Let's put that out there.
That's okay. That's all right. We well, I got a flusher. I got a little Cocker Spaniel, so I can't. But they're different.
I'm just getting your listeners riled up.
That's, it's good. That's good. I was invited to come out to Lansing for the Michigan State. What do they call this?
Yeah, the Pheasants Forever's Michigan State meeting.
And so I was invited to come out and do a little chat. And then I looked on the schedule when I got it last week, and I see Bob speaking in the morning. And I'm like, by the time we get back to Minnesota again at the same time and get to your office like I did that one time, it might be years. And this is a trick question. See if you can answer this. Ooh, Bob.
Trivia.
What is
Dover? No? Okay. Sorry. God dang. I was trying to read your mind.
2 syllables?
Miller Lite. No.
I got a Blue Moon in the fridge. What is the only good thing about bird season wrapping up?
National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic.
Was that a setup?
That was easy, yeah.
I do.
That was a setup.
If you missed that one.
My old baseball days, that was what we call a ephus pitch. You know what an ephus?
I don't.
It's what a guy that throws 95 miles an hour and then just basically out of the blue just underhands one. Yeah. And the batter is so wound up and it just swings like they're going to hit it, 500 feet over Tiger Stadium's roof.
Uh-huh.
And they just swing and miss.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it happens like, I don't know, once every 5 years, somebody throws an ephus pitch. And it's
almost sounds like a college ball. I never saw it in the pros. I never watched
it
a lot.
It has happened in the pros,
but it sounds more like those trick plays. Like
100%, yeah.
A 4-way lateral across the.
Yep.
So he just lines him, and then he just
it's not even a changeup, right? Because a changeup would be like you throw a fastball and then you throw something that's 80 miles an hour, off speed pitch. Right. This is like fastball, and then you just basically lob it to the catcher, and the batter's like, "Oh baby!" And
never heard of it.
Really? Oh yeah. It doesn't happen a ton, but
and the term is, what is it?
Ephus pitch.
Ephus. Well, that was your ephus question.
Yeah.
What's the only good thing about hunting season wrapping up?
Yeah.
So, I think I've been at Pheasant Fest now with my booth this is 6th year, I think. Never been to. Has this been in Kansas City before?
It has. 2012 and 2016. So, I started on January 6, 2003. That's my first day at Pheasant Fest. 6 days before the very first ever National Pheasant Fest. There was no quail at that time.
Right.
So I've been to all of them. I can remember pretty much every year, but you asked me, what the convention center looks like. I have a hard time. But yes, Kansas City, 2012 and 2016.
So been a while.
Yep.
What is it? Will it pull in? I mean, that's kind of not a softball question. Do you think it's going to pull in more the Quail Forever people, the Southern people? Because, I mean, I know some people will go from everywhere in the country to come to Pheasant Fest, which they should. But demographically, I'm sure 70% of them are within a 300-mile drive or something like that. Any idea how that works when you guys move it around?
Yeah, great questions. So absolutely the goal for having this particular event in Kansas City was pulling a larger quail audience. It's
nice.
It's the 20th anniversary year for Quail Forever, and this is the event that kicks it off. So
gotcha.
20 years ago in 2005, we started Quail Forever.
Right.
So having the anniversary in a quail state
makes total sense.
Kansas is arguably the best mixed bag state in the country. And
I just came back 4 days ago.
How'd it go?
It was good.
Yeah.
It's good. I'll be talking a little bit about it tomorrow in my talk. But actually, the people on this podcast aren't going to know what I'm talking about at the talk, so I can tell you how it went.
There you go.
I think about a year ago, there was an article in the Pheasants Forever magazine about the Brecky family. Okay, they're
Jay, the veterinarian.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Jay his brother Matt and his dad Eric.
Okay. Yep.
And I had Jay on my podcast, and tell me you haven't done this, I would call you a liar. When somebody says you ought to come out and see us, we got a lot of whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're like, quail season's open all of January.
Yeah.
and he invited me, but I get a lot. I'm sure you get invites all the time, right? And you only get so much time to go. And I hadn't been to Kansas since my daughter won a trip through Pheasants Forever when she was 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
Carl Malone used to have a youth. He donated. I may be wrong. Somebody could correct me. He used to donate $50,000 through Pheasants. I got it at a Pheasants Forever chapter. It was called the Carl Malone Youth Hunt. And there was like 10 big game hunts. And then the next 10 people who were drawn were small game. And I got permission through our host to bring her twin sister and her little sister. She did the videography, and we went to Kansas. So that was 20-some years ago.
Oh, wow.
She's 38, 23 years ago. And I knew what he's shooting. I did bring a gun a couple times, but so literally, this was my first experience on like repeated coveys. Like I ran into a covey once in South Dakota, just a fluke 30 years ago.
A covey of bobwhites.
Covey of bobwhites. So friends have gone to Kansas. I've seen them in Kansas when I was prairie chicken hunting one time. Just never got it. And I'll tell you what, the Brecky family that was in that article is an example of what people do with their property.
Yeah.
They still have part of it farmed by local farmer. They put in food plots, which the local farmers say, you guys don't need food plots, you got weeds.
Right.
But, I think we all feel like we got to give them a little extra something or give the deer something or whatever. And so it's still a working farm. They've got winter wheat in here and corn there, but they've put in tree belts and there's plum thickets, and they're changing over getting rid of the brome grass and putting in the blue stem and the bunch grasses. Yeah. Oh, Bob did it.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. There's no location. You have to read the article, and that's as close as you're going to get. But it just shows what somebody could do.
Yeah. I love hunting states like Kansas, Nebraska, big wide open spaces. But I also love, as a pointer guy, your dog goes on point in a state like Kansas, you're like, this looks like quail. It
might not be.
Yeah, big rooster gets up and they're like, there's the fastball. I wasn't expecting it,
Or you're thinking, like, when I got there, I saw, and I didn't even look at the regs. I bought my license, but I didn't look at the regs. I got there a day before, and I was coming back to the north, and I saw a rooster and like 5 hens jump the road. So I think they were just coming out of a night roost, and for whatever reason didn't walk the road. He just kind of jumped and landed in the grass, and I was going to take my little cocker out, just to get her like, all right, this is what we're going to do, right? And there's nobody on the road. So I let her out, and we get over and they keep a very wide easement. They leave a huge habitat easement along their road, which is almost unheard of these days. And those pheasants, of course, the pheasants saw us coming, and they bailed out of there. But I was that 4? Was that 5? And then what comes out of there? They're like,
covey of bobs.
It's like, oh my God, I'm never going to hit one.
Well, you had to get to a point where you could pick out the white heads from the cream heads.
I just heard that. I've heard that. In fact, my last day there, I took a really short walk, but it was only 2 that came up, and it was very distinctly cream head and white head, and then I got one of them boy birds.
Yeah, there you go.
But that was great. Whole idea is, and they're all Pheasant Forever Life members, friends of theirs that come down. All their plaques are on the wall in their farmhouse, and it just shows what can be done. Yeah. Now obviously he is not a farmer. They're going to need a little bit more of the property, but they've been coming to that area. Like his dad, Eric's dad. So Eric's my age. He's 2 years older. His dad's been coming there. Now they're obviously his dad and mom are deceased, but they started hunting, southern Kansas, and as things got drier and different farming and everything, they started moving north, and like literally the guy that's my age has been there for decades and decades and decades. His boys are only, close to 40, but they've been there since they were, 8 years old, walk along. So they've seen all the changes, and they've got, I found a new reverence for, like, I want property now and I want to raise quail. I'm sorry. I love pheasants, my favorite bird still, but the excitement of, and kind of the predictability
Oh, you think so, huh?
Well, not that I could predict it, but they're like, okay, we're going to go here.
Uh-huh.
We haven't been down here. There'll be a covey here.
Oh, okay.
Now, they're not going to be in that plum thicket.
Yeah,
We go to the south end of the property. There's going to be a resident.
yeah.
And
And
we're
a
gonna
covey
look-
lives in a certain geography.
Right. And then they bust out, but they tend to go back and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was really cool to see what they've done.
I love, when you're hunting bobwhites and kind of that, you can hear them, sort of feel them before you see them, right? There's sort of that energy.
I didn't get that good yet.
Well, it just, when, say, a covey of 12, there's 24 wings.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Before you see them.
Before you see them,
right.
you get this,
It's like rough
The
ground,
air
but a different. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, especially if you get into like the middle of them.
yeah.
And they don't get away from. Yeah.
And then especially as you just start to do it, trying to pick one
Yeah.
out of a covey, and you're hunting with a couple people that are just new to it, and then the one bird peels off and everybody shoots at the one bird that bird just puffballs, and why'd you shoot at that one? Because it was the one that your eye automatically gets drawn to that.
And then out of those three guys, nobody watched where the covey went.
Right. Like, I don't know. I was looking at my bird.
Yeah, that was fun. It was really fun. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Worth the 900 miles of driving.
But to answer your long-winded answer your question, Kansas City,
Yeah.
Quail Forever, 20th anniversary, the goal, especially as we're trying to place Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic in March more and more.
I've seen that.
We won't be able to do that consistently because we've
Right.
booked a lot of conventions that are booked like 5-6 years out. But we are.
That's a good question. I was going to ask you. Really, you guys are there?
It's like
Need that kind of.
It's like the
planning.
Super Bowl, man. I mean, there's
Wow.
that much demand for convention space. So
Oh.
we have, I think it's 2029. We're booked out, and you
You've got
can't
plans.
beat it out of me, Ron.
Right.
But we want people focused on one particular area. But we
Right.
have to.
But that's how far your planning goes.
we have to
4 to
plan-
5 years.
Yeah, to get the dates we want and have a convention center, a ballroom, hotel space.
Right.
There's only certain number of cities that have the space, like
And in the
in
area
the geography we want.
Sure.
We'd love to figure out a more quail centric space, but we just don't have the members.
Right. You still want the 30,000 people
Right.
walking the floor and seeing everything. that's
Again,
out there.
which is why we went to Kansas City in the first place in 2012, and I believe that's the first time we tacked on the Quail Classic to the name.
Yeah.
Was 2012 when we brought it to Kansas City. So this is the big 20th anniversary year.
Yes.
So for the first time ever, there'll be a quail stage at the
Mm-hmm.
event. Every hour on the hour is a different quail oriented session.
Nice.
It's never happened. Clay Newcomb's the keynote, and most people are like, Bob, Clay Newcomb's a bear guy. But his genesis, his origin story starts with quail. So that's why he's going to be the keynote.
Right.
So as you look through pheasantfest.org, the stages, the attractions, the band for the concert, like there's a quail element to everything happening.
That's going to be
City.
cool.
Yeah.
What do we got? 6 weeks? We're down to about 6 weeks. How's the office? How bad does it get? Or are you guys? Is it a well-oiled machine? I mean, if you're planning 5 years in advance, I got to imagine, like,
Yes, but So
yeah,
So I think about the first few. So the first few years, it was every other year.
Mhm.
We did 03, 05, 07.
okay,
And you had that respite for a year. And
right.
we really build up to it. And then it was such a success. We were like, well, we got to do this every year.
Right.
And it became like, a lot of times we were doing it around Valentine's weekend. So
Right. I remember
from,
one of that.
from Christmas on, it was like, oh my gosh, it just eats up your entire existence.
Yeah.
That's another nice benefit of pushing it out till March.
Right.
Is it gets it off the holidays a little bit,
Right.
but
Just a little further
a
away.
little bit. But the beginning of the year, January on, it's all hands on deck planning the event. And you think about, we got 5 stages, hour on the hour. We got 3 different mealed events. We got a concert.
Right.
It's a well-oiled machine, but it's also, we push ourselves to innovate and do something new, you know, whether that's, film festival one year, concert another year.
Yeah.
We try to do, push it to make each year interesting and different.
You don't want to just be like the same.
If it's stagnant, and people are like, well, it's in a new city.
Or they'll
every year.
skip a year. They'll be like, well, if it's going to be everything at 3 and then at 6 o'clock, we're going to go here. Yeah, that's.
Well, I've been there, done that, seen that before. I don't need to go. So there's some things that we want to make sure we bring back because they're staples. But but at the same time, we want to keep it fresh, and we don't want to have it be boring.
Last year, I heard some people, they came by the booth, and then once I realized there was a pattern to it, they looked like they had blood on them. They were working with the canine.
Oh, the vet. It was special sessions
for trauma in the field with your dog, and they actually had like not a dead dog. They had a really good facsimile of a dead dog.
Yep.
And people learned to put compression on it and kind of stop bleeding. And that was a cool idea.
Yeah.
A lot of people love that.
I think it was Seth Bynum led that 2 years ago in Minneapolis, and then I think it was Dr. Spoove did it in Sioux Falls.
Okay.
So
it was him.
We did it. We did it a couple years. We are going to put that to rest for this year. We're not doing it in Kansas City, but a lot of our chapters are doing that at a local level now as a kind of a 2-hour session, 3-hour session at a local level with chapter. You can find out about.
I need to go to one. Not that I ever want to use it, but I'd like to feel a little smidge less panicky.
Right on.
If something
I mean, I had a bird dog die in my arms after a field accident. And, in that instance, I wouldn't have been able to save her. But
but if you would have been able to, you'd have been pretty. It'd be like this.
The guilt you'd feel,
or just like, oh my God, I never knew about a tourniquet. Like, could took my belt off. Who knows?
Right.
You never know.
Yeah.
But there's so many things at Pheasant Fest. I mean, we always do an episode about it. I love going there. It's first for me, it's like a reunion. And there are X amount of people, whatever it is, maybe it's 50% that don't miss it, and I'll see them once a year, and they come by during Pheasant Fest, and everybody spends a few minutes and somebody else wants to say hi. And, I've just never, there's no other event I enjoy like that.
Me neither. And I have to work it too. So there is a level of stress,
but work it hard.
But I do love it. I mean, and for me,
it's like getting ready for a hunting trip, kind of. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but
you love the hunt.
You love the people. You love the elements. My favorite hour of the year is the bird dog parade.
That's the first hour.
The first hour, kicking the thing off, and like you see some people every single year. The minute we announce we're taking registrations, they're in there.
Yeah.
They're signed up. They want to walk their dog in the parade, and you see people, lined up to check.
I know.
Dogs.
I know. I got some friends that are going to do that this year.
Nice.
And I didn't walk. I had somebody else walk my dog in the parade a couple of years ago. I was taking video.
So you're a Bronco guy, right?
Yeah, that's debatable. I still own Broncos.
So last year, the reason I bring it up, you didn't let somebody walk your Bronco.
No,
because I got crop dusted by a Bronco last year. On this, I swear to God. So I'm the MC, right? Yeah. I announce Bronco Italia. No, and people, the group of Bronco owners and dogs come up, and I've had dogs. I've had to clean up number ones and number twos on stage before.
Yeah,
and that's to be expected to some extent. But I had a one Bronco when it walked the steps onto the stage. It was
did it have the
nuclear
walking farts. You're saying
it was one fart that cleared a space in front of the crowd, and it gagged me. I mean, right?
Oh, but that's a bad bag.
It was.
I mean,
it was atomic.
There's ones where you shake your head like, oh, it's your dog.
Yeah.
But I never heard of one clear.
I will never have a Bronco as a result of that fart.
That's one of many reasons
not to get one. The fart smelled round the world.
Oh God, no! I've got a young one that a friend had. He was gonna sell a house, rebuild a house, and then redo the old house. And he's like, "Can you take her for a year? I'll take her on some hunting trips." I'm like, "Yeah, easy, you know." And then I've got a 8-year-old she's okay. She tends to hunt bears. Of all things, a Bronco likes to be 300 yards away from you to the left, right? So she didn't get the playbook from Italy.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a foot hunting companion.
Yeah.
And she's where's she at dog. But she's a sweetheart. And I have a wire-haired Vizsla. And there's going to be the wire-haired Vizsla group's going to be at Pheasant Quail Fest. I got a bunch of friends in that group. I am not joining the board. I've done a dog club once upon a time. I'm not doing that again. Love all you guys and girls, but not going on the board of that. But yeah, I like seeing all the breeds too.
Yeah, I love seeing that.
I do. I really do.
You see breeds that you probably never even heard of.
Right.
You know, Blue Picardy Spaniel.
Right.
Breeds you can't even pronounce.
Well, even
Vogtelhound.
Yeah, and depending on what part of the country you live in, you may never have I wouldn't say maybe with a small Munsterlander, but like a small or large Munsterlander. Like you said, people know how to say it.
Mm.
I get a lot of emails about what kind of dogs do I like, what's a good first dog. I mean, there's a spot where they go to the fest, and besides the dogs in the parade and the opening of the fest,
yeah,
I would say almost every one of those dogs is from a breed club.
Yep.
Because in the area where we're set up, and the Purina stage is set up,
yep,
it's dog club. The German Wirehair Club.
Yep.
The NAVD organization, the Gordon Setters are here, the English Setters are
we
here.
had 42 different breeds last year.
Was there really?
Yeah. I don't know the exact number heading into Kansas City because we're still getting
All
people
the
signed
data,
up.
yeah.
But generally, 4 dozen different breeds of dogs have a booth on the show floor. So if you've always...
You could never get that anywhere else.
Right.
No way.
Like, I want to see a Boykin. What's a Boykin look like?
Right.
Go to Pheasant Fest Quail Classic.
Because we read an article and you're like, okay, now I want to meet one.
Yeah. Meet one, see one,
Meet
talk
the
to
owner.
owners.
You got all
And
day
then
long to establish the
Step right
relationship.
next door and the Epinol Bretons.
That's
and
right.
Step right next door and check out the Gordon Setters. I mean,
Right.
they're all there.
Yeah. Yeah, that alone, if somebody, and I filter probably, I don't want to exaggerate, let's just say 2 emails a month just because of the podcast of that person. And it's always amazing. Like, we're thinking of a Weimaraner, a German Wirehair, or a Brittany. Like, well, there's a range. There's 3 different dogs in the first little world there. And I always just give them my phone number because I can't type that good.
Yeah,
I cannot write. I can't type that good. But if anybody is looking just for that, it's worth the drive to Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kansas City, Kansas is not where it's at. It's Kansas City, Missouri, which is basically
It's just the same thing.
It's
just across the river.
There's just a little river away.
And it's a great. Have you been to Kansas City?
I've worked over in that neck of the woods. I've been through Kansas City.
It's a great town. Phenomenal food.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of different things. Like I said, there's a concert Thursday night.
Yeah.
Muscadine Bloodline. By the time this comes out, will probably be sold out, but maybe not.
Maybe
Check
not.
it out.
Or maybe we'll scalp them.
You can scalp some tickets.
Step on it a little bit.
But it's a really nice, fun town, and their football team wins a lot too. But
yeah, that was funny. I was watching a football game with those guys. They were rooting against them. They said, "We've seen them win enough." It's like, oh
wow!
I'm like I know you went to a hockey game last.
Went
night.
to the Red Wings. Yeah. I'm big hockey and baseball.
And coming from Chicago, it's sacrilegious that I don't know football, baseball, hockey. I mean, I know it a little bit.
Yeah, not your cup of tea.
Oh, it just doesn't. I don't know who played last year's Super Bowl, except maybe the Chiefs because they
won
3 out of 5. I think
Right.
I'll pick up. Yeah, I don't retain it, but hockey. I used to go to some hockey games in Muskegon.
Yeah,
and that's kind of that's a game I could go watch. I mean,
I don't think there's a better game to watch in person than
because it's like hunting. It's like a dog that really puts their effort out.
Yeah, there's
the whole game.
If you know the game, you're following not just what's happening with the puck, but how the players are moving without the puck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially, I grew up loving college hockey, and then as I moved to the big city, had partial season tickets for Minnesota Wild. And
Yeah.
my wife actually works part-time for the Wild, so I get to a lot of NHL games and to see the speed and the skill.
Yeah.
I really enjoy
Just
it.
like a fine athletic dog.
Something like that.
How about on the bird dog stage? I think I just want to hit on a couple things for
Yeah.
people who are like, because I've heard people say, yeah, I always wanted to go to that. I'm like, what's
stopping you?
stopping you? I mean,
Yeah.
granted, some people it's kids, some people, but I've talked to people who are like, no, and I'm like, I know you personally. You could go.
Yeah.
You know,
For
bird
some
dog stage to see the Smiths and
docking and
Dockin and everybody that's known out in the dog training world and get a chance to talk to them even a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a few question and answer outbreaks and demonstrations. I mean, I don't know what else anybody. The only thing you guys don't cover there is how to hit a bird with a shotgun because it's no shooting indoors. If we could figure that out,
yeah.
we're shooting instructors.
We've done some laser shooting before, but that just doesn't have the same.
Does it?
Yeah, I mean, the dogs, whether it's the parade, the
Mhm.
puppies, the breed clubs, or the stage,
Yeah,
that's the number one attraction.
Yeah.
And
it's got to be.
that's number one attraction for, in terms of why people bird hunt, the dogs are way out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's also, it's the habitat component. There's a habitat stage, landowner help
Yep.
desk. Like you're talking about, one day you want to own that land.
Yeah.
Well, you want to figure out how to turn that land into
Right.
bobwhite quail Valhalla.
Right.
And we have biologists that'll sit down one-on-one with you, pull up a satellite image.
That's exactly what the Breckies did, I think, 2 Pheasant Fest ago.
Right? They sat down with a biologist, looked at the satellite, and
Yep.
we should do this, 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 and this.
Right.
Federal government will pay you this. The state government will
They
pay
found that out too. In fact, this lady from the FDS and whatever the acronym
NRCS.
NRCS, she goes, "No, you guys, there's money for you to do this." Like,
Yeah.
and they're kind of used to footing the bill for the fertilizer and everything else. They're like, "Wait a minute, you're telling me we want to have more quail and you're going to help us?"
Right.
So yeah, people can get that kind of help.
Can get that help if you're like hunting curious. We have a stage that's called Path to the Uplands.
Mhm.
So it's a diverse, different group of speakers that talk about how they got involved in bird hunting and
Right.
dogs, and give something for people that I don't know if this is for me
Yeah.
or not. There's a public land stage
Right.
we do. We have a really magical recipe as our organization, which is the combination of private land work that
Yeah.
we do with landowners, but then there's also public land work we
Right.
do that we buy a lot of land and turn it over to the states or the feds and it becomes public access.
Yeah.
So there's a public land stage with all sorts of Ryan Callahan,
Yeah.
Meat Eater is going to MC a few,
Is he gonna-
moderate a few.
Is he going to do that?
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So Cal will be there, Clay, Doug Duran, Danielle Pruitt.
Oh yeah, I just had her on after her new book. You did too.
I did. Yep.
I still watch everybody's podcasts. It's like, oh, I just did her. I wish I would have known it because sometimes if I don't look and I release, I'm like, oh, I don't mean it's not bad for people to do a book tour on the podcast. It makes sense.
Right.
But if they're all in the same 2 weeks, it gets a little like, darn it, I want to hear something else except I just heard about Danielle's book.
Travis Frank and I
Yeah.
were talking about the very same thing because some people, whether it's a book is somewhat obvious, right?
Right.
But there are other people that will reach out to all of us at the same time, like, hey, I'd love to be on and chat. And they sent 16 other emails to all the podcasters in the Upland world. And you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good topic. And then the very
learned
same
to
week,
ask now.
right? And you're like, holy mackerel. Talk about overexposed. Like,
Right.
Billy Bob, you could have warned me on this one.
Right. Yeah. There is a thing. If you are out there and you think you're an interesting guest for a podcast, do not apply to all of them.
Yeah.
Apply to the one that you think you'd get along the best with first,
Right.
and then just work your way down the line. But you should listen to the podcast and know their temper, their timber. Some are more serious. You laugh a lot on yours. I laugh a lot on mine. There's some that don't do a lot of laughing.
And there's also like you're way more dog oriented than most of them out there,
Right.
And I got to be true to the brand, so I got to,
of course.
I got to,
a lot of biology,
A lot of
land work.
yeah.
Talk.
So kind of play to what you think that audience is going to want to eat up.
So the date is March 6th, 7th, 8th. Am I right? 7th, 8th, 9th.
I think so. The concert, I believe, is March 6th. Thursday night is
Thursday
the
night's
concert.
the concert.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the show, and I think that's 7, 8, 9.
Okay. So we did the good commercial. Everybody knows what to expect.
Yes,
now,
sir.
I don't know how Bob's hunting.
Pheasantfest.org. My hunting season.
Yeah.
Um.
Do we have
so-
time? Oh yeah. We got about 15. We got 10, 15 minutes. We're good.
So I started my season at home in Michigan. I went back.
Back to your home.
I went back home.
P?
I went to the UP. I started this new series, short film that I'm going to do once a year called Opening Day. And last year I did it with the guy, Billy Hildebrand, who I do a radio show.
I hear you always say that about K-Fan.
K-Fan. And so the idea is, as an adult bird hunter, my favorite day is opener, right? Like it's replaced Christmas in my world, right?
Yeah.
So I went back for this year's film to the UP to hunt with my mom and dad, brother, and
Wow.
so we did a grouse hunt. So that's where my season started.
So your own backyard.
In my own backyard.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was fabulous. It as you know, opening day of rough grouse season in Michigan in September.
Not the greatest day to go hunting rough grouse.
Right? It's just walking into the jungle.
The jungle.
And sometimes there's also a lot of mosquitoes in the jungle.
There can be. Yeah. They could get too hot.
Yep.
Dogs.
Absolutely. It was too hot. It was in the 80s by like 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Right.
So we had a real small window of time.
Still the opener.
It was still the opener, and it was sentimental too.
Yeah.
Being with my family. The downside is, you got a camera person behind you, like with everything you're doing,
Right.
which it puts a level of stress on your shooting and just the experience. Like, gosh, you hope it all works out. Long-winded. I went 5 for 5 to start the season on
5 for 5.
on opening day. Shot 4 rough grouse and a woodcock on opening.
Tell me you at least needed 2 barrels on one of them.
I didn't. It was unbelievable.
You went through 5.
And I'm a extraordinarily average shot.
I've heard you say that on podcast. I've watched your Rooster Road trips.
I miss.
Takeaway is you're average, and you tend to wander off by yourself.
Yeah,
That's 2 things I hear
right
about.
on, right on. But yeah,
5 for 5.
5 for 5 on opener in the.
Did you get your head back in the car?
Yeah, it was. It didn't last. Right, the rest of my season wasn't like that, but the opener was fabulous.
That's incredible.
But long, if you want a big picture for the season, so pheasants and grouse and sharpies,
Yeah.
quail. I keep a Post-it note above my desk at the office, and every Monday I come back and I have pheasants and I check mark how many I got over the weekend and rough grouse and
You got a little
woodcock.
running
I got a tally
Yeah.
from. I started this with my first bird dog.
Oh, really? Your
2000
first one.
My first one. I don't have a hunter's log or a diary. It's just
Right.
a Post-it note by species, how I did. And so just generic numbers, 2023, so a year before, I shot 72 upland birds. So that's woodcock, that's Mearns quail, that's pheasants, rough,
Whatever. Yeah.
which is pretty darn good.
That's anybody be able to
very good year.
good year.
Slice that better than a half down, so 29 birds this past year. And it wasn't. I didn't get kids all of a sudden, right? You've heard me say this too, right? Like I've been married for darn near 20 years. We haven't been able to have kids.
Yeah.
So my weekends, I don't have obligations on
Right.
weekends.
You can get out and go hunting.
I get out and I travel, 7 states and go bird hunting.
Yeah.
Come back on Monday at the office and I check mark. So I was traveling. I just was not finding the birds. And I attribute it to, we had a wonderful winter for the birds last year,
Yeah.
but we had a terrible spring. We had
Okay.
a really wet spring that hurt
So
reproduction.
we had good carryover of adults, but they just didn't have a good hatch.
You're right.
And we're all
Actually
shooting.
right. And
Most of our shooting's at the hatch with these species.
that's what it speaks to me. It's like, we get really wrapped up in the winter. Oh man, that was a terrible winter. We should really be focused on spring nesting season.
Yeah.
Not only for the weather, but for having the right habitat.
Right.
And so bird numbers, from my experience, whether you want to talk about pheasants,
Kind
pheasants
of overall, though.
overall, like pheasants, North Dakota, South Dakota, were
And it's not
very
like you
good.
hunted a third less this year.
Right. I was out there I can't tell you the number of days,
Doesn't
but
matter, yeah.
but pheasants in Minnesota were down. Rough grouse in Wisconsin were down. Rough grouse in Minnesota were down.
Yeah.
South Dakota, North Dakota, pretty solid.
Yeah.
But as you walk through 7 states,
It's a good barometer.
I think things were down. I mean, you whether it's Mearns, you probably have heard this.
Yeah, I've never
Mearns are down.
I've never gone down there. I get so many invites, and I've just kind of like, it's not that I don't want to. I will go that far and hunt with somebody else's dog. I just don't want to go that far. I've literally in my whole life, I don't think I've ever. I have flown to do a TV show, but I mean, I've never just flown and met somebody and some of them are pretty close friends. I mean, I it's not going to be like a one fan mail and say, hey, come to Arizona. For some reason, though, the Mearns is the only one. It sounds like it's a nicer walk. I mean, with all the cactus and everything, and I heard those were down too.
Yeah, Mearns or Montezuma, same bird.
Yeah,
different name. Beautiful. You're right. It's a beautiful walk.
Yeah, that's said I've heard.
It is. I think it's a species that does favor the pointing dog because it's canyon hunting and it's hard to keep up with your cocker as it's going up a canyon.
Yeah.
I do. Part of the magic in Arizona is your ability to also hunt scalies and gambles.
Right.
And I kind of went for the Mearns / Montezuma, and I keep coming back for the desert birds.
Do you?
I scalies in particular, I really got a
and that's
sweet
more
tooth.
mayhem, though, right? A
little bit, yeah.
A little. It's not like that. You're not going to get those classic points. Walk up.
Oh, right. Like Mearns hold as tight as a woodcock.
Right.
Scalies and gambles are just track stars, and
They're like pheasants. I mean, like a
They
good
want
wild
to
rooster
run rather than fly.
The ones we get pointed are far and few between.
Yep.
Sometimes I think it's another bird they're pointing.
Yeah.
Because that other one's always running away from.
Yep.
They're the meanest, nastiest bird on this planet. That's why I love them the most.
Yeah, they're great. That's why and with pheasants, I feel like, depending on the state
Yeah.
and the terrain, they can change a little bit. But you're right. Their inclination is always to run.
Right.
And you got to have a good dog.
Right.
Get them in the air.
Yeah, I could be wrong on this, so you guys can all rate me. But for especially a bird that didn't develop on this continent, I don't know that there's a sneakier bird.
Oh, no.
There is no sneakier bird. If you had one that was pressured, maybe had a tail feather shot off it, I don't know. Those are the ones that make it.
Yeah.
To breed
They're
next year.
sneaky. They're adaptable, right? They can live.
How much rough grouse hunting have you done? Quite a bit, right?
Yeah, that's what I cut my teeth growing up on.
Rarely are they getting out behind us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pheasants will make a dead run in between two people.
Yeah.
They're like some Walter Payton going to like, how did it get through those two guys?
You can tell that your Chicago roots.
Well, they're my.
I would have said Barry Sanders, but okay.
But yeah, that's still. I do need to get there. I'm not saying I'll ever get there, but it's on a list. But I don't carry like a bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
I just like going to, and that would be a place I haven't gone to hunt. But I just like going to I'd go to a new place in Kansas next year.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, unless it was a close drive, I wouldn't want to go to the same. Because okay. If somebody invited me to another part of the state, I'm like, new place.
Yeah.
New restaurant, new place to eat breakfast. I like the people as much as I think I like the dogs and the birds. But and I do not have 20. Oh no, maybe I have 29. Yeah. I did not have a great year this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
birds are down.
Yeah, for sure. North Dakota birds were down and harder to find. And, all the speculation, bean fields and what have you. But
are you talking pheasants or
Sharpies?
Yeah. Agreed.
The last day is the only day I put up a covey of 7. It was a lot of young, not a lot. I mean, a lot of full-grown birds. Nice ones for the taxidermist.
Yep.
And I heard that across the board from a lot of people.
Yep. Same.
But I did hear pheasants were pretty good.
Pheasants were pretty good in the Dakotas, but you're right, Sharpies were down last year.
Yeah. So, any new now? How are you set on dogs now? I know everybody that listens to Bob's podcast knows that he names them after the Great Lakes, basically.
Well, so my original dog, my first dog as an adult was Trammell. So there's my tiger, and then my second dog was Iserman.
I thought they were all Great Lakes.
So
together.
then my oldest dog alive now. So my third dog as an adult, Escanaba.
Okay.
So named after my hometown.
Right.
Then is the Great Lakes dog, Gitchy. Little Gitchy Gumi.
Yeah.
So Esky is 10, Gitchy is 5. And then Winter, I have a third dog who is roughly 7 months old right now. So 10, 5, and a pup.
podcast. I do skip a lot. I didn't know you had a new one.
Yep. Just she's very young.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't hunt her this year.
I did not hunt her this year.
Puppy walk around the house.
Yep. Got some help with bird and gun introduction while I was on the road. And,
Did you?
I've never had a puppy during hunting season. I always
Come to think of it, I don't know that I've ever had.
right. Like I historically, all my pups have been born April. Bring them home late
Right.
June, July,
Right.
and then I do hunt them that
Right.
first year. But there's a lead up, right?
Right.
This pup was born at the very end of June, and she had gotten through bird and gun introduction.
August. So yeah, you're into end of October before it's even ready for any of
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right. So I did bird and gun, but I was on the road, and then 1 month left in the season, and it's it just wasn't ideal conditions for her. So that's my project
Right.
for spring when woodcock come north.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna
She'll be the right age.
I'm gonna run her, get
So
her tightened
winter.
up. Winter.
Okay. Your other names, you can all shorten them up.
Yep. Win.
Okay, I'll give you a
Win.
win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's gonna go like win. They're gonna think, is Bob bragging?
Wint. I call her Wint a lot, but
Wint. You just
Wint.
shorten it up to Wint.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and so Trammell was Tram, Iserman was like, what do you shorten that up to? Izzy, we called her Izzy.
Right.
Is Escanaba is Esky.
Yeah.
Gitchy,
Was
Gitch,
yeah.
Gitch, and then Winter, Wint. Yeah, and I love Winter, which is
I've been here long enough from Chicago to here for 40 years, and I still don't like winter that much.
yeah.
You must have to be born in the UP to actually love winter. I don't know.
Say out of the UP, eh?
Yeah.
I do. I love cross country skiing and the snow and give me. Well, we just got through a pretty harsh cold front.
Yeah, that was a little much.
That was a little much. Where it was a high. Well, in Minnesota, there was a high at 23 one day with wind chill and negative 46. That was a little more than I normally like. But, give me 15 degrees in snow versus 100 degrees in humidity. I don't care.
Yeah, I got to find something in the middle. I'm not good at either.
Well,
I'm not good.
Yeah.
I'm not good. My hand circulation and fingers and gloves and guns and stuff. But I used to cross country ski a little bit. I thought that was pretty cool when I moved to Michigan. You didn't want to do that in the streets of Chicago, but once I had some acreage and some trails, I was like, it was pretty cool. It was good exercise, but
I like doing that, and I go into the
dogs too.
I go into the boundary waters where I can run dogs because if you're running on tracked trails that are groomed for skiers, they don't really like dogs running around. But when you're going into the wilderness, it's good. I did buy a ski juring harness.
I've seen the Carters do that, and every year they have it on their Facebook.
Yeah,
they're short hairs.
Ron, you want a death wish?
No,
let's do that.
How bad is it?
It's so I'm a Youper, so I'm not the smartest bulb on the tree, right? And I put rather than one harness, I hooked them both up, 2 dogs up at the same time. And away they went. In a way,
like Chevy Chase when he got on that slide.
Yeah, I have some practicing to do. I'm a decent cross country skier, but you put 2 short hairs. I mean, they're pulling me, and Yeah, it's hard to stop. So there's a release
How
harness.
much time did you take to train the dog
Not-
in this endeavor?
None.
I just hooked the harness up.
Let's go, baby.
You know, people die skiing, hitting trees every year, Bob. I don't think you're going that fast, but you're probably going 15, 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
the
a
dog
death wish.
Well, I'm going to leave you with that for this. We have to get going over to the Lansing Brewing Company and meet a few Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever folks.
There we go.
And I appreciate you coming on and making the time to do this. You were doing a podcast in your room before you came up to my room. This hotel's like a radio recording studio here. So we'll hopefully see all of you. We know we can't see all of you because my audience is that large, and Kansas City can't hold 1 million people. But we hope to see a bunch of you new faces at Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic. Thanks for coming on, Bob.
Thank you.